Test. What's going on, y'all? It's Parquet again. I got another story time video, so y'all seem to like those, so we're gonna go a little bit out the box today. This video, we're going to be talking through my top 3 craziest field trips I've ever been on. A little bit about the footage before we get into it. This is an old RSR lobby. Shout out to all the RSR boys and girls out there. Ace, Noodle, EB, Risk It All is in there. This was one of their open lobbies. They really be having some real fun racing when they get those going. I haven't been, on the rig as much. A lot of you don't know that I recently went through a move, so my rig is still in the closet. So, been trying to do a little bit of controller racing. It hasn't been pretty at all. So, this is back in the, quote unquote good old days, right? This is back when I had the wheel and pedal all set up and was a little bit faster than I am now. But with that, let's get right into it. Top 3 crazy field trips I've been on in my life. So the first one was to a rock quarry. So I grew up in Alabama, so these are going to be very, backcountry, real deal, Southern Belle, below the Mason-Dixon line field trips, right? The rock quarry, they took us up there, they showed us around. The thing that made this crazy was actually the end of the field trip. At the end, they brought all of the parents and the students inside of one room. It was, the last little closing session before we went off to go about our day. I actually think we were about to eat before or after the session ended. So during the session, they pull us all into a room. And they pass around this rock, right? They're like, hey, man, there's this really cool rock that we like to mine here at the rock quarry. And, like, people love to touch it. You got to touch it and then make a wish, right? So we pass it around the room. Kids, parents, everybody passing it around the room. My mom was not touching that rock. She was like, I'm not touching that. Everybody's touching it. I'm about to eat. It's disgusting, whatever. And she was really onto something, because by the end of, the pass around session and everybody making a wish on the rock quarry staff informed us that the rock was actually fossilized poop. Yup, that's right. They had us passing around fossilized poop to each other, making a wish upon a star to it, or I guess a wish upon a poop. And that's always stuck with me. That was about 3rd grade. Fast forwarding here to field trip number 2. This field trip happened in, I'd say, the first semester of 5th grade, right? So in Alabama, there's this summer camp, or this little area called Camp Cosby. So Camp Cosby being in at crazy field trip number 2 is due to, it was one of the best field trips of my life. As soon as we touched down there, right, they opened the bus door, and they just say, you all just go run free, right? We're in the woods. The first place I go is to a basketball court. They had like it's the first type of basketball court like this I've seen, right? It was a wooden floor. Of course, I've seen a wooden floor basketball court, but this was like, oak wood, like, creaky front porch wood we were playing basketball on. The net was all kind of messed up, so that was a little bit irking me a little bit, but it wasn't that big of a deal, right? I got to hoop out there. It was my first spend the night vacation field trip or whatever, right? It was a school spend the night. We spent like 2 nights there. We got cabins. This is my first time getting to, get that real Boy Scout camping experience, right? Getting to stay with my classmates. We all in sleeping bags on bunk beds. We going to the canteen, right? Going to the canteen in the woods. I'm up here looking at different leaves and stuff. It was a very fun time. So just because of that, I had a friend that actually rode a what's it called? What's the banana boat or the paddle boat or something? This is 5th grade at the time. I thought he was wild, but I also thought it was the coolest thing ever. My thighs are too big, so I couldn't get in it at the time. But yeah, it was just a real cool trip. So Camp Cosby coming in at number 2. Now, at number 1, craziest field trip of all time I have been on. This is what you have all been waiting for. But again, it is Camp Cosby. So now, why would Camp Cosby show up twice on this list? Well, I'll tell you. The second time we went to Camp Cosby, this is 2nd semester, 5th grade. It was actually an underground railroad simulation. You guessed it. I and my classmates, we played slaves on the Underground Railroad, and the same camp staff that actually, did our first field trip where we, were having all cool on the lake, on the beach. They were actually the slave owners we were running away from. So that was definitely an interesting experience. I didn't know at the time how wild that sounded. I thought everybody went to Camp Cosby and did slavery enactments until I started, talking to people about it and like, telling them, hey, like, y'all don't know about your history. Y'all didn't do Underground Railroad reenactments. So I guess I was wild. And let me know in the comments below if you've ever done a Underground Railroad reenactment. But the thing that sticks out to me about this trip the most is the biscuits. Oh my goodness. So what they were doing, there was basically stations throughout the same campsite and everything that we had so much fun on. We went in the dead of winter at this time, right? So it was definitely a different type of vibe around the campsite when we pulled up the second time. But the biscuits, so like I said, there was these little stations everywhere, and there was one station where it was basically a simulation of what it was like when a slave master would find you right on the middle of the Underground Railroad. And what they did was, they captured us. They captured us. And what they did was they had these stale biscuits that they crumbled up and they like sprinkled them on the ground. And we actually had to eat the biscuits off the ground. Now, I will give them credit. It was white, black, Mexican. Everybody was eating the biscuits off the ground. So they weren't discriminating in that fashion. But I will say there were no black slave owners, which looking back on it, yeah, they could go either way with that. But, that was just the time we grew up in, man. Alabama was fun, but there was definitely some crazy trips going on out there. Again, anybody out there with any crazy field trip stories of your own, I would love to know them, because, yeah, those are mine and mine alone. And, yeah, I'd love to hear yours. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if, you've had even a similar experience. I'd love to know. And, yeah, be well. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.